Military specifications, also known as mil specs, define technical requirements, test methods, and quality standards for products and services used by the military. The Defense Logistics Agency, DLA, is responsible for developing and maintaining these mil specs. You can search for specific mil specs on the DLA website at DLA. Mil Headquarters Acquisition Pages Specifications and Standards.asks. When contracting with minority-owned subcontractors, it is important to understand the ATA certification program. ATA is a certification program that supports small businesses owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. Federal prime contractors are encouraged to subcontract work to ATA companies to increase opportunities for these businesses. Be aware that the scope of work may be incomplete or lacking in detail when bidding on jobs with disadvantaged subcontractors. Contractors may need to gather additional information during walkthroughs or contact the subcontractor for clarification. It is advisable to request specifications or cut sheets for the products and materials involved in a job. If the subcontractor is unable to provide these, you may need to conduct additional research or consult with industry professionals to determine the appropriate specifications. The bidding process for jobs subcontracted by disadvantaged businesses may differ from standard military bidding procedures. It is important to carefully review the solicitation and consult with the subcontractor for guidance. When contracting on military bases, firstly, establish relationships with prime contractors and disadvantaged subcontractors on the base. Secondly, participate in industry days, meet and greets, and other base events to network and learn about upcoming opportunities. Thirdly, consider obtaining certification as a disadvantaged business to increase your eligibility for subcontract work. Fourthly, thoroughly research the job requirements, specifications, and bidding process before submitting a proposal. Fifthly, be prepared to negotiate with the subcontractor on pricing, scope of work, and other contract terms. When looking for military specifications, start by visiting the Defense Logistics Agency website. Search for the specific type of work you are bidding on, such as electrical, mechanical, or construction. Look for specifications that cover materials, installation methods, and testing procedures. Pay close attention to any reference standards, such as those from the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, i.e., the American National Standards Institute (ANSI), or the National Electrical Manufacturers Association (NEMA). Familiarize yourself with the requirements for documentation, inspection, and quality control. Keep in mind that military specifications are constantly updated, so always check for the latest revisions. When working with ATA-certified companies, remember that their primary goal is to develop and grow their businesses. Be patient and understanding when dealing with inexperienced contractors. Provide clear and concise instructions and guidance. Offer assistance with technical issues and problem solving. Be willing to share your expertise and knowledge. Pay invoices promptly and fairly. Recognize that their success contributes to the overall diversity and inclusion goals of the military. Before submitting a bid, carefully review the scope of work and identify any gaps or ambiguities. Ask the subcontractor for clarification on any unclear requirements. Request additional information, such as drawings, specifications, or equipment lists. Conduct a thorough site visit to assess the existing conditions. Develop a detailed cost estimate that includes all labor, materials, and equipment. Factor in a contingency for unforeseen problems or changes. Submit a well-organized and professional proposal that clearly outlines your qualifications and experience. If you are awarded the contract, establish a clear communication plan with the subcontractor. Hold regular progress meetings to discuss any issues or concerns. Provide timely updates on your progress. Be responsive to their inquiries and requests. Maintain accurate records of all work performed. Ensure that all work is performed in accordance with the military specifications and industry standards. Conduct thorough inspections and testing to verify compliance. Address any deficiencies promptly and effectively. Document all corrective actions. Obtain all required permits and approvals. Coordinate with base personnel and other contractors as needed. Maintain a safe and secure work environment. Follow all base regulations and procedures. Be respectful of military personnel and property. Be aware of security protocols and procedures. Report any suspicious activity to the authorities. When negotiating with the subcontractor, be prepared to discuss pricing, scope of work, and payment terms. Be transparent and upfront about your costs and profit margins. Be willing to compromise and find mutually acceptable solutions. Be clear about your expectations and requirements. Get everything in writing to avoid misunderstandings. Review the contract carefully before signing. Seek legal advice if needed. Building relationships with prime contractors and disadvantaged subcontractors is crucial for long-term success on military bases. Attend industry events and conferences to meet new people. Introduce yourself to key personnel at the base. Volunteer for committees or working groups. Participate in community service projects. Sponsor base events or activities. Offer your services as a mentor or trainer. Be a reliable and trustworthy partner. Networking and building relationships can open doors to new opportunities and partnerships. Consider obtaining certification as a disadvantaged business to increase your eligibility for subcontract work. Research the various certification programs available, such as the Small Business Administration's ATA program or the Department of Transportation's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program. Determine which program best fits your business profile and goals. Gather the required documentation and submit your application. Be patient, as the certification process can take several months. Once certified, actively market your business to prime contractors and government agencies. Highlight your disadvantaged status and the benefits of working with your company. Participating in industry days, meet and greets, and other base events can help you stay informed about upcoming opportunities and connect with key decision makers. Attend these events regularly and be prepared to network. Bring your business cards and marketing materials. Be prepared to talk about your company's capabilities and experience. Ask questions and learn about the base's priorities and needs. Follow up with the people you meet after the event. Thoroughly researching the job requirements, specifications, and bidding process is essential for submitting a competitive proposal. Review the solicitation carefully and identify all requirements and deadlines. Research the specifications and standards that apply to the work. Obtain any necessary permits and approvals. Develop a detailed cost estimate. Prepare a well-organized and professional proposal. Submit your proposal on time and in the correct format. Follow up with the contracting officer to answer any questions. By following these tips, you can increase your chances of success in contracting on military bases. Remember to be patient, persistent, and professional. With hard work and dedication, you can build a thriving business in this rewarding market. Understanding the specifics of electrical work on military bases requires delving into relevant military standards and codes, such as those found in the Unified Facilities Guide Specifications (UFGS). These specifications often reference the National Electrical Code (NEC), but may have additional requirements or modifications specific to military applications. For instance, grounding and bonding requirements may be more stringent to ensure electromagnetic compatibility (EMC) and prevent interference with sensitive electronic equipment. Conduit systems might need to be explosion-proof in certain hazardous locations, requiring adherence to specific classes and divisions outlined in the NEC. Wiring methods, such as the type of cable or conductor insulation, might be dictated by military standards to withstand harsh environmental conditions, including extreme temperatures, moisture, and exposure to chemicals. Overcurrent protection, including circuit breakers and fuses, must be carefully selected and coordinated to protect electrical systems and equipment from damage due to overloads or short circuits. The UFGS may specify particular types of protective devices or require arc flash hazard analysis to determine the appropriate personal protective equipment (PPE) for electricians working on energized systems. Lighting systems on military bases often need to meet specific illumination levels and energy efficiency requirements. Military standards may dictate the types of light fixtures, lamps, and controls that can be used. Emergency lighting systems are critical for ensuring the safety of personnel in the event of a power outage and must comply with strict requirements for backup power, illumination levels, and testing procedures. Power distribution systems on military bases are often complex and involve multiple voltage levels and substations. Understanding the layout and operation of these systems is essential for performing electrical work safely and effectively. Military standards may specify the types of transformers, switchgear, and other equipment that can be used. Electrical safety is paramount on military bases, and all electrical work must be performed by qualified and trained personnel. Electricians must be familiar with the NEC, OFCs, and other relevant safety regulations. They must use appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, and follow safe work practices to prevent electrical shock, arc flash, and other hazards. Lockout-tagout procedures must be followed to de-energize equipment before performing maintenance or repairs. Regular inspections and testing of electrical systems are essential for identifying and correcting potential hazards. Electrical drawings and documentation must be accurate and up-to-date to facilitate maintenance and troubleshooting. When bidding on electrical jobs on military bases, it is crucial to carefully review the scope of work and specifications. Identify any special requirements or challenges and factor them into your cost estimate. Be prepared to provide detailed information about your company's qualifications, experience, and safety record. Demonstrate your understanding of military standards and codes. Highlight your ability to meet the base's security requirements. Attend pre-bid conferences and site visits to gather additional information. Ask questions and clarify any uncertainties. Submit a well-organized and professional proposal. In the specific scenario of installing an intercom system throughout a building, several factors need to be considered. Firstly, the type of intercom system to be installed should be determined, whether it is a central amplified system or a self-amplified system. This will affect the power requirements and wiring methods. Secondly, the location of speakers and volume controls must be carefully planned to ensure adequate coverage and accessibility. Thirdly, the specifications for the speaker system should be determined, including the sound pressure level, frequency response, and impedance. Fourthly, the wiring must be installed in accordance with the NEC and any applicable military standards. Fifthly, the system must be tested and commissioned to ensure that it is functioning properly. When installing a central amplified system, a central amplifier is used to power all of the speakers. This requires running speaker wires from the amplifier to each speaker location. The amplifier must be sized to provide adequate power for all of the speakers. Volume controls can be installed at each speaker location to allow users to adjust the volume. When installing a self-amplified system, each speaker has its own built-in amplifier. This requires running power to each speaker location. The speakers can be connected to a central control panel or directly to the audio source. The selection of speaker wire gauge depends on the length of the run and the current carrying capacity required. Refer to NEC Table 310.15b16 for ampacity ratings of conductors. For longer runs, a larger gauge wire may be needed to minimize voltage drop. The wiring must be installed in conduit or cable trays for protection. The conduit or cable trays must be properly supported and grounded. All electrical connections must be made in junction boxes. The junction boxes must be accessible for maintenance and inspection. The intercom system must be tested and commissioned to ensure that it is functioning properly. The sound pressure level at each speaker location should be measured to ensure that it meets the required specifications. The system should be tested under various conditions to ensure that it is reliable. When bidding on the intercom system job, it is important to provide cut sheets for the products you are proposing to use. This will allow the customer to review the specifications and ensure that the products meet their needs. The cut sheet should include information such as the speaker type, amplifier power, and wiring diagrams. Be prepared to answer any questions the customer may have about the products. Consider the building's architecture and potential obstructions when planning speaker placement. Account for ambient noise levels and adjust speaker volume accordingly. Ensure that the intercom system integrates seamlessly with other building systems such as fire alarms and security systems. Provide training to building occupants on how to use the intercom system effectively. Develop a maintenance plan to ensure the long-term reliability of the system. Consider surge protection for the intercom system to protect it from power surges and lightning strikes. Use high-quality components and materials to ensure the longevity of the system. Label all wires and connections clearly for easy identification and troubleshooting. Document the installation process thoroughly for future reference. When dealing with disadvantaged subcontractors, it is important to be patient and understanding. Provide clear and concise instructions. Offer assistance with technical issues. Be willing to share your expertise. Pay invoices promptly. By following these tips, you can successfully complete electrical work on military bases and build strong relationships with disadvantaged subcontractors. Remember that safety is always the top priority.